Why is it that so many of us feel completely shattered when someone we love decides to walk away, as if our entire identity has been fractured, leaving us wondering who we even are without them in our lives? The relationship ended, and now you're sitting there, replaying every moment, every conversation, every text, searching for the exact point where things started to unravel, wondering if there was something you could have said or done differently that would have changed the outcome. I understand that hollow feeling in your chest, that sense that a part of you has been torn away, leaving a void that seems impossible to fill. The waves of emotion that crash over you without warning, anger giving way to sadness, then to desperate hope, then back to anger again. You check your phone constantly, don't you? Hoping to see her name appear on your screen. Maybe she's reconsidered. Maybe she's realized what she's lost. Maybe, just maybe, this isn't really the end. But deep down, you know it is. And that knowledge feels unbearable right now. You were building a future together, or at least you thought you were. Now those plans have evaporated, and the path forward is suddenly obscured, hidden beneath the fog of grief and confusion. You're not just mourning the loss of the person you loved. You're mourning the loss of the life you thought you were going to have. The shared apartment, the holiday traditions, the inside jokes that no one else would understand, the quiet Sunday mornings, all of it, gone. What's left is the uncomfortable reality that you have to relearn how to exist as just yourself again. And that's terrifying, isn't it? Especially when being with her had become so fundamentally intertwined with your sense of who you are. Think about it. How many decisions did you make with her in mind? How many of your daily habits were shaped around her preferences? How much of your identity became defined by being her partner? I'm not saying this to make you feel worse. I'm saying it because recognizing the depth of this entanglement is the first step toward disentangling yourself, toward rebuilding. Because that's what you need to do now. Rebuild. Not just recover, rebuild. This isn't about getting over her or moving on in the superficial way people often suggest. This is about the deliberate reconstruction of your life. So let me tell you what to do next. Not because I have all the answers, but because I've been where you are, and I've watched countless others navigate this same treacherous terrain. First, acknowledge the full spectrum of what you're feeling. Don't hide from it. Don't numb it. Don't pretend you're fine when you're crumbling inside. The emotions you're experiencing, the grief, the rejection, the anger, the fear, they're all valid. They're all part of the process. You were praised for keeping it together, for being stoic, for pushing through. But that praise became a prison, didn't it? A constraint that kept you from expressing the genuine depth of your pain. Break out of that prison now. Allow yourself to feel everything without judgment. Find someone you trust, a friend, a family member, a therapist, and tell them the unfiltered truth about how you're doing. Not the sanitized version you share on social media, not the brave face you put on at work. The raw, unvarnished reality. Cry if you need to. Rage if you need to. Sit in silence if you need to. Whatever emerges, let it come. This isn't weakness. This is necessary honesty. Next, create physical distance between yourself and the reminders of what you've lost. I'm not suggesting you burn everything she ever gave you or delete every photo of the two of you, but consider temporarily removing the most painful triggers from your immediate environment. Put away the framed photos. Box up the gifts that make your heart ache every time you see them. Clear your social media feeds of content that sends you spiraling. This isn't about erasing her from your history. It's about giving yourself room to breathe without being constantly ambushed by reminders. Now, resist the urge to contact her. I know how powerful that urge can be. The need to hear her voice, to ask for explanations, to plead your case one more time, to show her you've changed already. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Those conversations rarely bring the closure or reconciliation you're hoping for. More often, they reset your healing process, sending you back to day one of your pain. They keep you tethered to a relationship that no longer exists. So make a commitment to yourself. No calling, no texting, no accidentally showing up at places you know she'll be. No late-night social media deep dives into her life. This isn't about playing games or trying to make her miss you. It's about creating the space you desperately need to heal. As the days pass, you'll start to notice something strange happening. The moments between waves of grief will gradually stretch longer. You'll catch yourself laughing at something genuinely funny without immediately feeling guilty about it. You'll go an hour, then two, then half a day without checking your phone for messages that aren't coming. This is progress, even when it doesn't feel like it, even when it feels like betrayal, as if enjoying even a moment of your life without her means you didn't really love her at all. Let me be clear. Moving forward with your life doesn't invalidate what you had together. The relationship mattered. It shaped you. It taught you things about yourself, both wonderful and difficult lessons. But its end doesn't have to be your end. As you continue this journey, turn your focus inward. What parts of yourself did you neglect during the relationship? What friendships did you let fade? What hobbies or interests did you set aside? What dreams did you defer? This is your opportunity to reclaim those parts of yourself, to expand rather than contract, to grow into the spaces that feel empty right now. Call that friend you haven't spoken to in months. Sign up for that class you've always been curious about. Dust off that guitar in the corner of your room. Plan that trip you've been putting off. I'm not suggesting you can fill the void she left with activities and distractions. That's not how healing works. But rebuilding a life that feels meaningful and complete, that does require action. Intentional steps toward a future that looks different than the one you had imagined, but that holds its own kind of promise. Throughout this process, be gentle with yourself when you stumble, and you will stumble. You'll have days when you feel like you're finally moving forward, followed by nights when the grief hits you all over again with the force of a hurricane. You might find yourself writing messages you don't send, or driving past her apartment just to feel close to her again. These moments aren't failures. They're just part of the messy, non-linear process of healing. What matters is that you recognize them for what they are, temporary setbacks, not permanent defeats, and keep moving forward, however imperfectly. As time passes, you'll start to see her and your relationship with greater clarity. The idealization will fade, replaced by a more balanced perspective. You'll remember not just what you loved about her, but also the tensions and incompatibilities that existed. Not to vilify her, but to understand why things unfolded as they did. And eventually, not today, not tomorrow, perhaps not for quite some time, you'll reach a point where thinking of her doesn't immediately produce a sharp pang of loss, where you can acknowledge what was beautiful about your time together without being consumed by grief over its end. You might even reach a point where you can feel genuine gratitude for what the relationship brought to your life, alongside acceptance that it couldn't last forever. This isn't about forcing forgiveness or manufacturing closure. It's about the natural evolution of how we process loss. In the meantime, there's one thing I want you to remember. She may have been the one to leave, but that doesn't mean you are unworthy of love. It doesn't mean you are fundamentally flawed or destined to be alone. It simply means this particular relationship with this particular person wasn't meant to be your final destination. There will be other connections, other possibilities, other loves, not identical to what you had. Nothing could be, but potentially just as meaningful in their own way. I know that's difficult to imagine right now. When you're in the depths of heartbreak, the idea of ever feeling that level of connection with someone else seems impossible. But trust me, when I say your heart has more capacity than you realize, its ability to heal, to open, to love again, even after devastating loss, is remarkable. So yes, she left you. And yes, it hurts more than you thought possible. But you are still here, still breathing, still capable of creating a life that brings you fulfillment and joy. This isn't the end of your story. It's just the end of a chapter. And while you didn't choose this transition, you do get to choose what comes next. So let yourself grieve, let yourself heal. And then, when you're ready, not all at once, but in small steps, let yourself begin again. Because the truth is, the most important relationship you'll ever have isn't with her or with anyone else. It's with yourself. And rebuilding that relationship, learning to trust yourself again, to value yourself beyond your connection to another person, to find contentment in your own company. That's the real work ahead. It won't be easy, but I promise you, it will be worth it. And the person you become through this process may surprise you with his strength, his resilience, and his capacity for joy, even after loss, even after heartbreak, even after she walked away.